Hi class, this is Mr. Garcia, and this is going to be a multiple part video that addresses the production possibilities curve. This is our first graph in our econ class, first of many. You will grow to probably hate these, but the production possibilities curve is an easier one. So I will guide you through what the production possibilities curve is, what it kind of isn't, and address what some of these numbers and these points mean. So as you can see, I've labeled my graph. One thing that I need you to understand in this class is that in order to get points for things, you need to label them correctly. It needs to be labeled as best as you can. When it comes to the AP test, labeling things as PPC should be fine, or PPF for production possibilities frontier is probably fine, but since you have all the time in the world on the test, why not write it all out? Production possibilities curve. This curve contrasts the ability to produce different things. What are the different possibilities of producing two different goods? So in my mind, you guys have a choice between two things. Some of you are going to complete some Halo levels, and so that is on one axis, Halo the game. Maybe I'm dating myself here, but perhaps some of you are playing that. And then some of you have a choice to read macroeconomics. So you have a bunch of choices, and what this graph shows you by the numbers is that in the time that you could spend, if you could spend all your time reading macroeconomics, you could get 3 chapters done. Let's assume this is in one night. And if you spent all of your time in one night, same amount of time that you would normally spend on 3 chapters of macroecon, you could spend all your resources and complete 6 levels of Halo. Now this is a linear production possibilities curve in that it's a straight line. There is a slope that is unique to this entire curve and not to each individual point. So what that allows us to do is when we have a straight line linear production possibilities curve like this blue line here, we can calculate opportunity cost. So let's do that. Let's assume that we had to make a choice and we chose choice A initially. That in one night we were going to read 2 hours, we were going to read as much time as we needed to complete 2 macroeconomics chapters. And in that same time, we were going to play a certain number of Halo levels. So if we're using our resources properly, what would that number of levels completed be? Production possibilities curve allows us to calculate this as an opportunity cost. If you remember from the last video, the opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative. So if we moved down one chapter of econ, so one econ chapter, I'll just write it as one econ, and what we got in return was some number of these Halo levels. Now if I had 3 on in the denominator here, let's just, I'm going to draw it down here. If I was reading 3 econ chapters, I would not be able to do any Halo levels, but if I used all my resources, I could do 3 econ chapters or 6 levels. And so this is a fraction that reduces to just 2 levels for every 1 chapter. So this is the opportunity cost. This is going to be helpful when we determine terms of trade in a later video. But for right now, what we can assume is that since we've moved down 1 from, since we've chosen A and we're doing 2 econ chapters, we are getting 2 levels of Halo completed. Therefore, the slope of this line, right, is going to be consistent with this too. It's actually going to be negative, negative 1/2, but, or, yeah, no, sorry, negative 2. But we could go here to the y-axis and label that as 4. So let's assume that we initially chose this option A, that we were going to read 2 macroecon chapters, but right before you started, you decided that you didn't really need to read 2, you only needed to read 1, so you moved from choice A to choice B. So what was the opportunity cost of moving from choice A to choice B? Well, the opportunity cost is the same along this type of line, so the opportunity cost of you moving from point A to point B is 2 levels. You got 2 levels in Halo, and you lost one chapter of econ. So you can calculate the opportunity cost here. You can either choose either 2 levels or 1 econ for every unit that you move. Now let's address some of these other points here. We moved from A to B. Those are on the line. That's great. That means we're using our time properly. That means you spent all night doing either one of these things. You didn't waste your time doing something less efficient. But let's say you chose point C. This is called an inefficiency point. It's not on the line. It means you only read 1 chapter of econ and only got 2 levels of Halo done, whereas you could have gotten 4, or you could have gone and read 2 chapters of econ if you only did 2 levels of Halo. So this is what this is saying. Point C is that this is inefficient. And in an economy where you're not on the efficiency line, when you're not on the production possibilities frontier, that's why they call it PPF, then you're not using your resources properly. Now, point D would be nice. Point D would be great if you could get 3 chapters of econ done and also get 6 levels of Halo completed. But this is called an impossibility point. Not able to use our resources much. Like, there's no way for us to do that in the amount of time that we have, considering all of this. So point D looks nice. It'd be great if you could do all of your coursework and also play video games. But you guys have a choice. You have an opportunity cost. You're either going to read 2, or 3, 2, or 1, or somewhere in between, and choose some point on this line. That would be the best for you. So this is video 1 of Production Possibilities Curve. I hope you hate it.